You're watching a video taken by the Olympus SH-50, which I bought last November, and I wanted a compliment for it. So in June I bought the SH-1 from Olympus, and it does have a couple of improvements. From the front there is not an obvious difference, but from the top on the left there's an indication that you now have 5-axis image stabilization throughout, both in stills and in video. Then you have an indication that we now have wireless communication with an Android type cell phone, that is. And then we have got a more recessed turn on button. To me, the more obvious change on the back is the addition of the info button, but also the display button has now changed to above the rocker switch. However, it is still separated from the video button by the thumb pad. The info button changes display screens now. This used to be on the rocker. At the moment it shows the level is actually correct in green. I am not going to tilt the camera because it means a lot of messing around with the tripod. The reason for having the extra info button is that the function menu has changed a bit. You notice that I didn't go right to the top of the menu, but I went to the actual EV button because that is most frequently used. Now if I leave it there, minus 0.3, which is my preferred setting, and I press at the bottom, it now goes to the selection for burst modes, but also now the timer function is in this location, whereas before it used to have a setting of its own. A couple of other changes have been made in the menu, of course, so we'll now have a look at those. Notice the Wi-Fi start, which we didn't have before on the SH-50. However, it is definitely requiring a piece of software to be installed to make it work with Android type smartphones. I don't have one of those, so to me the Wi-Fi is not particularly useful. Usual reset button. Compression I set to fine. Shadow adjust I put to off. The camera seems to work quite nicely with the dynamic range that it has from its BSI CMOS sensor. Touch shutter is off, but there is a caution. You notice the icon on the left. It means that actually you can turn on the touch shutter from the LCD screen, which I find a bit of a pain. So now you have to take a shot to get it back to the AF mode. AF mode, much as usual. Almost face ESP. I use spot for the moon. That is the metering mode. ESP normal. Again, you got spot as well if you need it for the moon mainly. Now the digital zoom is off. You have the image stabilizer on. In the old times it used to be said that if you got the camera on the tripod, don't use the image stabilizer, but with a 5-axis system you find that that precaution is no longer be taken. It works very well with 5-axis axis AS on the tripod. In fact, the last super moon that I've taken worked extremely well. The AF illumination turns on a red LED for night focusing. Rec view displays the image that you've just taken for a second or two. Here it is. Pick orientation I never use because I want to see the full size. Date stamp I never use. Super res zoom is effectively a 2x digital zoom. Can work quite well. Then movie mode itself, it's on hybrid. That means I have got full image stabilisation. Sound is on. Wind noise setting is on. It's effectively a high pass filter in the audio. I think that's all that it is. It also helps with recording speech in a room which has a bit of reverberation. Now we are in the display modes. You can have a slideshow. Hardly ever use it because I download straight to the computer. Erase allows you to erase everything on the card. Print order never use because I always print from the computer rather than from the camera. Share order, same thing. That would affect when you are sharing over Wi-Fi, I suppose. Format, self-explanatory. USB connection set for storage because I always download to the computer. Power on means that when the camera is switched off, pressing the display button will bring up the display of the images and videos that you've taken. Sound settings, self-explanatory really. Let's have a look at them. Sound type, that is the noises that the camera will make if you use them. I set the volume to zilch for the camera noises, but for the display I set it to maximum. Pixel mapping is hardly necessary on cameras with BSI CMOS sensors. At least that's what Olympus tells you, and I found the same thing really. TV out, that is when you connect your camera with an HDMI cable to your TV. I set it to 720 because that's what my TV does. HDMI control does not really work with my Panasonic TV, but there you are, you have it. With some TVs it may work. Language is English, you can have all sorts of languages. You set the clock the moment you buy the camera so that your pictures will be correctly labelled. Wheel time, I play with that a lot because I watch NASA TV. So my second time is set for USA Central Time, because that's usually what NASA quotes. They don't quote GMT. Touch calibration, I have done that. Wi-Fi settings I have not done because I don't actually own and use an Android type cell phone. Then the interval settings, that is to do with the time-lapse video and still functions. I still have to experiment with time-lapse. Could be quite interesting. For stills, you're limited to 99 frames. For video, you can set the intervals. It will record whatever length you set, and the replay will be 20 seconds at a time. Level adjust, you have to do yourself because the level is not correct in the camera as it comes out of the factory. It gives you the adjust function, and if you don't like what you've done you can reset it to the factory, but then it's no longer level, so you got to make sure you don't reset it when you don't want it to do. Okay, this just about covers everything on the menu. All in all, I am very happy with both the SH-1 and the SH-50. They do complement each other. The SH-1 does have the advantage of the level indicator and the fact that the white balance now will cope with lousy weather. The SH-1 also seems to be a little bit more sensitive. I've taken videos of the ferry at night which just seem to have a little bit more detail on them. After this, I will have a couple of samples that I've taken over the last 2 months with the SH-1 which may or may not convince you as well.